Oh boy, this is a big chapter. I don't even know how to cover it all. Let's talk about chapter 1094, 10 out of 10 chapter. We'll just say that right off the bat. Let's start at the end. Saturn's here in a way better than I could have expected. Okay, last week I talked about how it felt like Luffy and Kizaru were mucking about. The way that I said last week that we all, or at least a lot of us, expected this fight, this Kizaru versus Luffy fight, to be explosive and to be intense, to be this huge thing. And instead, it was fun. Instead, it was Kizaru being relaxed and trying to just distract Luffy with the dummies, the doubles, so that he could try to figure out where Vegapunk is or just kind of get out of his way. And it was like this cat and mouse. It wasn't this big explosive fight. It was this funny, goofy, we're just trying to outpace each other kind of fight, which I personally loved because it was such a subversion of expectations, but Oda one-upped that even more. To me, this is such good storytelling to build up this fight between Luffy and Kizaru where it's like, this is it. This is the reunion. This is these two characters that have all this history behind them finally meeting again and fighting again. And Luffy is going to show off what he's worth now, right? So you've got this big buildup, and then it's this subversion of this new style of fighting, this new form of Luffy, and it's fun and it's enjoyable. And you think that's a subversion, but then there's another subversion. You expected the bombastic fight here, but instead, all the impact and all the terror, all the explosiveness is over here when Saturn arrives. It's just, to me, this is like a symphony. It's such excellent storytelling to make us expect something here, change it, but it makes sense for what the story is now, and instead set something off over here. Oh my goodness. It was like music was playing in the background while I was reading this. It was so perfect. And his entrance, the way he came in, could have come in off of a ship, could have done a myriad of different things. But instead, he announces his presence by solidifying that this is a fight between darkness and light, literally. And having this announcement telling everyone, the Elder is coming, turn away, don't look at him. If you disobey, you will not be forgiven. And one man, the audacity, says, I'm gonna look at that. I wanna see what's coming up from there. I'd like to see what's going on. And his head explodes. It was so shocking. This feels like a new Oda. Like Oda's doing something different in the way he's telling this story, in the kind of gore that he's showing, the kind of like, you don't expect in One Piece for someone to gaze upon some evil being and to have their head literally blown off of them as a consequence. That's not One Piece. But it is now, to underscore the severity of the presence that's just walked into the room. Oh my goodness. Then you have his presence, his giant, disgusting form looming over the Straw Hats, because we had Kizaru, I know I'm telling stuff out of the order, Kizaru shot at the Vega tank. It fell out of the sky. They're all on the ground, and this giant spider-ish horned thing is looming over them. Huge, terrifying presence. And do you know what I love about this? That the Straw Hats are checking on each other. That you have this one of the strongest men in the world, creature, that just came in like that. And they're all like, Sanji's checking in on the ladies. Are you doing okay? Are you all right? Frankie's checking in on his hero, Vegapunk. Are you good? Literally shadowed over them. There wasn't a shadow drawn, but you know what I mean. And they're checking on each other. I love that. I love that tiny detail. Even the fact that everybody sensed him as he was about to make his entrance. Everyone could feel, oh, something's about to happen. Even the fact that everybody stopped mid-fight to recognize there's something shifting in the air. Oda nailed this entrance. This was a phenomenal entrance that really emphasized, I don't know, I feel like maybe just because we've been building up to the elders for several chapters now. I mean, it hasn't even been that long, but when you're week to week, it feels longer. But we've been building up these elders where we get to know them, and then we see them with Emu, and then we get their shadow forms, and then we find out that Saturn is coming, and that's exciting, but then it takes a minute for that to actually happen. And I don't know. I guess I'm like, oh, Saturn's coming. That's going to be a big deal. But Oda said, hang on. Let me show you what a big deal this is going to be. All the impact was there. My goodness. So we have him looming over them, over Frankie and Sanji and Bonnie and two of the Vegapunks. We have him looming over them. Vegapunk looks him in the eyes and speaks to him, and Saturn looks him in the eyes and speaks back. So that clearly means that just the act of looking at a mere mortal in the eyes, like obviously Saturn can talk to his other elder pals, but looking at another person in the eyes, obviously the mere act of that doesn't cause their heads to explode. That was him choosing to kill someone in that moment, because he's not choosing to kill Vegapunk right now, I assume, because he'd like to have some words with him before he offs him. So that's good to know, I guess. And I still think there's a lot of opportunity for Saturn to attack them and for them to still attack him from the sides or from behind and be able to, he's not so OP at this point that I feel like there's no chance. However, even though we've had no implication that there will be more elders coming, if more elders come, like at some point we're going to have to face off against the 5 elders together. And I don't know how we can win that, because we've got more forms to see. And oh my goodness. Anyway, the chapter ends with Bonnie. Now, this I didn't understand at the time that I read it, this conversation that she was hearing in her head before she attacked him, but my patrons explained to me that it's probably her remembering a conversation that she saw in the flashback, and that it was probably Saturn that directly ordered Kuma's death. And that's what she was remembering. So just to be transparent, I didn't understand this on my own. But anyway, she attacks Saturn. So I don't know if you remember. You probably don't. Why would you? There's a lot of videos every week when a new chapter is released. But 2 weeks ago, I think it was, I had mentioned that I think Vegapunk is going to die. I think that there's been foreshadowing that Vegapunk is going to die, and he's going to die for Bonnie, that he's going to sacrifice himself to help her go free. This chapter only reinforces that so much stronger to me now, because now we literally have a very clear picture of this fight is light against darkness, sun god Nika against demons. And Bonnie just attacked Saturn. So next chapter, assuming we don't launch into Kuma's flashback after this, next chapter, one would assume we're literally going to have the wrath of hell turned on her. So having somebody step in and sacrifice themselves to pay for her sins, for what she's done so that she can go free, would really tie into all this symbolism that's been put really clear, especially in this chapter. Obviously, Kuma is still coming as well, and he could certainly sacrifice himself for his daughter. Maybe it could be both of them. And as I said, I think there's already been foreshadowing that Vegapunk is going to die for Bonnie, so this just kind of reinforces that theory to me. I just think it's coming. I could be wrong. What do I know? It just seems like that's what we're doing. Either way, this was a phenomenal entrance for Saturn, better than I ever could have expected. and I'm really excited to see what comes next. But that's not all, because honestly, this entire chapter was incredible. There's so many small things that were also phenomenal in this chapter. So I'm gonna back up to the beginning now, and we're gonna talk about the rest of it. So the chapter begins with Atlas changing the orders of the Pacifista so that they're now turning on the world government and protecting them. And we have that exact thing happening, and it's devastating for these poor Marines. And this is a great chapter for Sanji. This is a chapter where Sanji's chivalry comes out in the best way, where he's trying to find Bonnie, he's trying to protect her. We even work in one of his gags with his being able to detect women, being able to find them, and breaking order now. Even later when they do find her, Sanji carrying her out like that was it was such a good chapter for Sanji, and showing his loyalty and his dedication and his desire to protect Bonnie, as well as checking in on Atlas when they fell out of the sky. I just loved this chapter for him. Also, Bonnie using her ability to, okay, this is the way I'm interpreting this. This guy is standing here and he's aged so rapidly that he turns into a skull, but he's snapped back so rapidly that the death didn't take. Like if your heart stops and you technically die for a second, but then your heart starts back up and you're good, you're still alive. Like that's what I'm taking it as, is just like a rapid death and then snap back. Because you see, it looks like his skin is like deteriorating and a skull is popping out. And then he's all skull, and then he's back to himself, but he's like shocked and weeping. Now, again, when I read these chapters, I live stream these chapters on my Patreon, and again, my patrons some of them were saying I interpreted it as a like life flashing before your eyes, like you got a vision of your death, which I guess is possible. I don't know. I took it as literally he touched death and then snapped back so fast that he got to live. Either way, this is brilliant, because one would think that she could, if she can do that she might as well just send him to be a skull, and that's that. But this is actually a far better point of attack, because if she just killed these people, or she turned them into old men / young men, then, you know, that would be odd, and it would certainly be a thing that people would notice. But having these people be horrified, absolutely disturbed by what happened to them, they're lying on the ground screaming. That causes such a good distraction that she can just hop over the wall. This old lady that's writing a pacifista, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't love it. I feel like she's gonna be a fan favorite. I feel like people are gonna love her. I don't love her. Not because, I mean, she's got a great design. It's an interesting fruit. Always happy to see new fruits introduced. But this pacifista order of hierarchy is already a little bit wibbly wobbly to me. And I don't love the idea of being able to bypass the system because of this random devil fruit that was just introduced, even though all she can do is bypass this system with a single use. Like, I got this one pacifista that I can literally override the order of an elder. I mean, technically she's overriding the Vegapunks, but if she can override a Vegapunk order, then one would think she could override an elder order too, because that's what the devil fruit is doing. It's overriding the hierarchy, the chain of command. She's the strongest person in the room for this one pacifista. Now, the Vegapunks can control all, or the elders can control all of the pacifistas, and she can control one. I don't care. Like, I don't like it. It's already too wibbly wobbly for me. If this pacifista order of hierarchy system felt more solid and concrete, then I still wouldn't like it. I don't like it. Sorry. That said, my favorite panel of this chapter isn't Saturn. It's this one of Bonnie. This scene with this pacifista Kuma getting ready to vaporize her, getting ready to attack her. And she just stands there in the light looking at him, that one word on the panel. It's the lighting on her. It's this look of sadness and childlike innocence. It's just this just like pain. It's the pain of the moment. It's the pain of what she's been through, what she's lost and the position that she's put in now to have to face off against someone that wears her father's face. Like, it's devastating. And the Saturn panels are more hype, but this one carries so much emotional weight to it that this one is the one that I come back to and I'm just like, oh man, Oda just hits those emotions. Even in the middle of a high octane chapter like this, those moments of such weight are so strong in these chapters. He's just, oh gosh, it was a really good one. Anyway, then we have Sanji counseling her, telling her, you know, like, we've got to move. I know this hurts. We got to go. And he picks her up and he carries her out. Love it. And again, this fight between Luffy and Kizaru is such an unexpected joy. And I did say in a previous chapter too that I was hoping that Kizaru would turn and kind of pledge his allegiance with us potentially, that he would be faced with the reality of what he's having to do, and potentially even him not wanting to kill Vegapunk is him that he's just pretending that he's going to kill Vegapunk, but he's actually not trying to do it. I acknowledge that I'm probably wrong. It seems like the dialogue in all of this really just doesn't seem to be leaning that way. But anyway, he would like to go ahead and kill his friend, please, so he can move on and forget this day happened. And Luffy's like, yeah, I'm not going to let you do that. So we have this still very fun, quick, you know, Kizaru lightning speed out of there, and Luffy going after him in this Looney Tunes style with his legs as a rotating really fast. And then everyone pauses in the middle of this silly, goofy, I gotta go kill my friend. No, I'm not gonna let you kind of thing. It's like, wait, something just changed. Something just happened. Enter Saturn. And now we're back to what we talked about at the beginning of the chapter. Forgot to also mention that Luffy is now drained from using Gear 5th right as Saturn comes onto the scene. We talked about this last week because this is what Oda was setting up in the story to happen. We know Gear 5th has a timer. We know that once it runs out, Luffy is basically useless and then again on a timer until he can start fighting again. And with Luffy going all out with Kizaru and us knowing that Saturn was on his way, you know, it was clear that this was what Oda was doing. So the fact that Luffy is drained now isn't the exciting story element, because this is exactly what Oda was leading us to. What's exciting is what comes next. Because Luffy is drained now, we potentially get to spotlight some of our other cast while we wait for Luffy to be able to fight again. Maybe now our crew gets to shine for a little bit and have to work together. This is what I ask for all the time. I want more of the crew working together to prop Luffy up. Those are some of my favorite fights in the series always, and I'm constantly begging for more of those. So we might actually get this, at least for a short stint while we wait for Luffy to get back on his feet again. So in a chapter that is loaded with so many things that make me excited for the next chapter, we'll just add this to the list of I can't wait to see, hopefully, the crew come together and hold down the fort and fight as a team while we wait for Luffy to be able to join them. And again, I can't say it enough, Saturn's entrance was unexpectedly phenomenal. I expected it to be a good entrance. I expected Saturn to be a force that was going to be really hard to deal with, but expectations blown out the ceiling. Absolutely incredible. Cannot wait to see where Oda takes us from here. What a chapter. I already said this, there's no reason for me to think that there are more elders on their way, but if more elders do show up, you know Saturn's form is the weakest. You know that he's the runt of the litter, and that the other, like, as we continue to meet more elders, it's just going to level up and level up. Oh, it's gonna be good. Please let me know what you thought about this chapter. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to dig into more? I can't wait to hear your thoughts. I can't wait to read the next chapter. If you didn't already know, if you didn't see my schedule upload, I do a video upload schedule where I kind of tell you what my plans are for the month, and I do have myself down to be doing weekly One Piece chapters instead of batch. I've just been really enjoying doing weekly while Oda had kind of a less consistent schedule. It was fun talking about each chapter individually, so I think I'm just going to keep doing that for a little bit. But I can't wait wait to hear what you think of this chapter. Chat with me more in the comments. I post videos every Monday and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the review channel, which is always linked in the description. I'll see you again soon. Bye.